They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the August 28th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, the place of the outsiders, a place where your life can change. Okay, so Rams send Ernest Jones and a 2026 sixth-round pick to the Titans for a 2026 fifth-round pick. Feels a bit light, but if you saw Sean McVay's press conference yesterday, sounded like the team was ready to move on. And there was all kinds of interesting conversation about that, going back and forth like you'd hear. He asked for it, he didn't ask for it. In the end, McVay's pressers said basically this: we did what was best for our football team. We feel great about our linebacker group. No, we will not be adding anyone to this group. We're going with the guys that we have. This doesn't take anything away from Ernest, but this was what was best for our football team. I'm really confident about the group we have. The group that he has are 5 undrafted free agents. As of now, Elias Neal. As of now, Omar Spates. As of now, Jake Hummel. And then you've got Christian Roseboom and Troy Reeder. But it's interesting, all the defensive captains from a year ago, Aaron Donald, Jordan Fuller, Ernest Jones, are all gone. Quentin Lake and Kobe Turner are now the new team captains on the defense. And again, when you think about who's a team captain, I heard people talking about, maybe you could replace him. Biozio, good to have you. I'll touch base with you in a second, brother. But one of the things here, look at the quality of person the Rams draft, the kind of people they draft. I don't think the Rams have to go far in searching for leadership. It's a bummer. Everyone loves Ernest Jones. I loved Ernest Jones. But at a certain point, they're ready to move on. And, McVay kept making the case that they were ready to move on. And when he was asked about who's going to take that spot, who's going to be playing the linebacker spot, McVay offered no hesitation in saying Troy Reeder and Christian Roseboom, that they would be the team's starting linebackers. That was, but it was emphatic the way he said it. And in one sense, McVay should run for office someday, because obviously there were things there that we're not hearing, right? Ernest Jones says he was surprised by the trade. He says his knee is fine and that he expected to play out his contract as a free agent. But I think between what McVay is saying and what Ernest Jones is saying, someplace in the middle was the truth. And maybe Jones didn't ask for his trade, but maybe, just maybe, his agent might have put something on the table. I don't know. Things might have been expressed behind closed doors, and the Rams came to the conclusion that they're going to leave this dance. And again, I think I shared it either in Friday's show or Monday's show, that you kind of knew this was a possibility. Maybe not a trade right now, but when the Rams didn't talk about extending him after the year he had last year, I don't think there was anything more you had to see after last year. It's just the position. It's a gender study degree, and it's like, you got the degree, but what does it get you? You're a linebacker in the NFL, and you're not an edge rusher. What does it get you, right? In some places, the Ravens, $20 million to Roquan Smith. The 49ers, $19 million to Fred Warner. The Bears to Tremaine Edmonds, $18 million. No Super Bowls there. 49ers got 2 Super Bowl appearances. They're in trouble this year because 19 million rocks are going to Fred Warner, and Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams are holding their hands out, holding and asking for a little bit more. Bill, thank you so much for clicking on. I'll be touching base with you here in a second. Jones leaving sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Again, we've talked about it. If Robert Woods could go, Ernest Jones can go. If Aaron Donald could retire, if they can cut Todd Gurley, if they can make these moves, if they can let John Johnson walk, the Rams just aren't going to suffer any issues, right? And that's where Alaric Jackson better make sure his stuff is squared up and tight right now, because we don't know what the personal code of conduct is, but that dude's playing for a big contract. And if he gives the Rams any pause to think that they might have to, question his judgment, he's going to be gone. And again, for Ernest Jones, not a bad guy. Rams weren't going to pay him big bucks. And I think there is. His knee might feel fine, but there's got to be something there also about his knee. It's terrible. Rams, and the reason people feel this way is because the Rams have a tendency to draft and acquire high-quality people, and fans hate to see them go. Yeah. Steve Ramirez, thank you for clicking on. We'll be right there. We'll get in touch with you. Again, we can only speculate, but if Ernest Jones maybe had bit his lip, he was going to make 3.3 rocks this year, and for a team in Super Bowl contention, I might have made sure my agent said all the right things, that I'm really happy here. I don't want to go anywhere. Said he's going to the Titans, and the Titans are going to be looking up at the Texans and the Jaguars and the Colts. And so, Ernest Jones might pick out a few more years in his career if the knee's okay. He's not getting big money. I just don't see anyone giving big money except for the Texans, Steelers, Bills, Bears, 49ers, and Ravens. And again, not a Super Bowl amongst those teams. DeMarco Farr shared something on his radio show yesterday when news broke about the trade. He talked about Kevin Carter. If you remember, Kevin Carter was the standout defensive end for the Rams. He was on the Super Bowl team and had 17 sacks in 1999. Rams win the Super Bowl. And going into that year, the word had been, as DeMarco Farr shared, that he was going to be next in line for the big contract. But then Isaac Bruce went off the charts. Kurt Warner became off the charts. And then DeMarco Farr said that the management told Kevin Carter, you're going to have to wait. And Carter went from 17 sacks and a Super Bowl title to 10.5 sacks on a wild card exit. And he said, I thought it was amazing that DeMarco Farr said this. He said Kevin Carter played half-heartedly, that he kind of sulked. And, if there was any potential for that for the Rams, they weren't going to do it because they have some hungry cats in that linebacker room. Tim Burns, thank you so much for clicking on. That's young energy right there, right? Spates and Elias Neal, who to me was the guy that came out of nowhere. You folks, everyone was talking about Spates as a UDFA. Elias Neal was another Fatukasi, right? He was just another guy that was going to get cut. He wasn't on my radar. And pretty interesting stuff there. Before we get to around the NFL and other places, I did think it was interesting when the questions were asked that Sean McVay said, Kyren Williams is going to be returning punts. So you had Tutu Atwell drop about a month ago that he's going to be returning kicks, and Kyren Williams is going to be returning punts. And here's the funny thing. McVay mentioned it. They interviewed Kyren Williams today, and he's excited about it, excited about getting it. McVay's excited about getting him touches. LaFleur's excited about getting him touches. The Rams got depth in the running back room. And of course, they just acquired a free agent that the 49ers cut loose, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. It is interesting. It is interesting putting him there. And I just think the Rams just want to be more aggressive. It was basically the special teams was giveaway. It was like, forget about the big plays they gave up. Think about, since Brandon Powell left, just no real threat in any of the kicking game departments. And sounds like the Rams just want to be a little more aggressive. All right, let's keep moving on here around the NFL and other places. I was, again, just picking up stuff here and there as I'm driving around. I went to the doctors today. I gave blood. And I heard the conversation about the NFL players voting and everything, that they voted that, Josh Allen's the most overrated. And Hey, hello, there's a guy down in Tampa Bay that's named Tua. Not Tampa Bay, in Miami named Tua. I think he's a bit overrated. And if you're talking about Josh Allen, I mean, Josh Allen has some playoff wins. Lamar Jackson has one. Okay. It's player voting is not always the most exact science. And then there was votes for the GOAT quarterback. And I understand the push around Mahomes ascending to GOAT status. And I totally get it. It's still Tom Brady, and it'll be that for a long time because of that 7th ring. But that 7th ring in Tampa Bay by beating Mahomes and KC is a big fat capper there to me. To win another Super Bowl with an organization that doesn't have a long history of winning, that to me is the capper of Brady's greatness. Now, again, Mahomes wins a 3rd straight this year. Let's see at the end of his career. But right now, it's all Tom Brady. It is Tom Brady, even if Mahomes gets a 3rd in a row. And but I don't know. Sometimes that wheel keeps spinning in the NFL, and I think that injury stuff and just misfortune is about to land on the Chiefs. I don't know. You just get a feeling. Russell Wilson named the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steeler fan Rob's upset. He has a deep crush on Justin Fields. Bills signed quarterback Mike White. I remember I mentioned Monday that the Dolphins had let him go, and I was thinking I'll be kind of an interesting reach for the Rams as a backup because he did a fair job as a backup in New York. But here's the funny thing: Mike White's making the AFC East rounds, right? He's been in Miami, he's been in New York, and now he's in Buffalo. All he has to wait is for the ongoing disaster in New England to continue. He'll end up playing quarterback there. Cardinals cut and then re-signed Desmond Ridder. And KC signed former Patriot quarterback Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi has to be the happiest guy on the planet. Who wouldn't want to get out of New England right now? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but boy, New England, huh? Ugh, looks gross to me. Speaking of former Rams, Lions signed Allen Robinson, who was previously cut by the Giants. Packers inked Robert Rochelle to the practice squad. Seahawks added Max Percher. Remember, he was a practice squad player. He was an import player on the Rams. Jaguars re-signed Austin Trammell to their practice squad. Lions waived Jake Funk. You guys remember Jake Funk? Vikings released Duke Shelley, who did a nice job for the Rams last year. Jets released former Nelson Spruce Award winner Lance McCutcheon. Jets released Lance McCutcheon and Tanzel Smart. Remember Tanzel Smart? Eagles waived Jacob Harris. Bucks released John Wolford, quarterback. Texans cut Ben Skoranek and put Case Keenum on the IR. And the Cowboys released Royce Freeman. Around the NFL and other places, Alex Leatherwood, who was drafted by the Raiders high in the first round a few years ago, was released by the Chargers and re-signed to their practice squad. Vikings re-signed N'Keal Harry, former number 1 pick of the Patriots, and tight end Robert Tonyan to their practice squad. Titans released former number 1 pick Caleb Farley, a cornerback, and Shane Ray, who continues his comeback quest in the NFL. Okay, so we blasted through a lot of that there. I'm Joe Terozzi, a sports writer for 21 years, one of the founding guys at Mid-Valley Sports, and now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. So thank you guys for supporting me there. Thank you for supporting me with the books I write. They're on Amazon. We're hoping by the end of the week to have Game Day in the Ram Cave. It's a novel about a Rams football game that friends are watching. Hoping to have that out before the end of the week and for you guys to purchase. And that supports me in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we're right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual, all across social media. And so, no, I do appreciate your support there. Don't have a Patreon account. We don't have a paywall. So we trust our sponsors and your guys' support. We thank you so much. Let's look at some of the questions that have piled up here, and we'll get right to you. BioZio, in Les Snead we trust, right? And McVay can sell it. I totally agree. This isn't Bill Devaney and Steve Spagnuolo. This is McSnead, and I think we have to trust them until it falls off the cliff. Omar Spates will be a gem. The Rams think so. Obviously, the Rams think so. I thought everyone was getting a little too excited about him because of some of those hits on special teams, but the Rams must like his wheels. They like the way he runs. You got to run as an off-ball linebacker, right? You got to run. The days of Mark Giroux filling holes behind the line of scrimmage are over. You got to run as a linebacker. I say Mark Giroux because I like Mark Giroux better than Matt Millen. Bill, I love Cody Schrader. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, huh? Guy gets booted out of the Frisco camp, and the Rams pick him up. I definitely think there's probably some gamesmanship there. Also interesting is they lost Elijah Mitchell to the practice squad, to the injured reserve. I don't know if it's short term. I don't know if it's short term or designated to return. I mean, or he's gone for the season. And that's interesting. You lose Elijah Mitchell, and Christian McCaffrey has been sidelined and hobbled with a calf strain, and they put the kid in the street from Missouri, and the Rams gobbled him up. So that is interesting to see there. Let's see. Tim Burns. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve Ramirez. OB linebacker, off-ball linebacker by committee. Absolutely. Hey, okay, everyone's talking about Spates, all right? We've all know what Troy Reeder brings. Christian Roseboom played over his head last year. He looks like a career special teamer, but the Rams got a lot of clicks out of him. And then you got Spates. And then, did you see Jake Hummel run? Jake Hummel was all over the field. Jake Hummel looked like he took a speed pill this offseason because he looked a lot faster than he has his previous two Augusts with the Rams. And then, of course, Elias Neal, who I got to believe is hanging by a thread, but he looked good out there. Just seeing him, it is interesting. 5 UDFA linebackers on this roster. Obviously, yes, for Steve Ramirez saying that it is off-ball linebacker by committee. Tim Burns, we got crap for Jones. What don't we know? Well, I think it's his knee. I think the Rams have suspect questions about his knee, and honestly, I don't think there was any mystery that Jones was on the block. Did anyone else call? Was anyone else interested? Not because he doesn't play well, but because he's an off-ball linebacker, going to be a free agent, and no one wants to pay any serious money to these guys. Not just the Rams. A lot of teams don't. I laid out 6 teams there that do, but that means there's 26 to 25 others that don't. And so there's something there. I think we're getting half truth from both ends, right? And somewhere in the middle there is the truth. But the one thing is, if the Rams really believe they're contending for a Super Bowl, I do not believe they would have moved off of Ernest Jones if they felt like they couldn't replace him. And again, they didn't want any noise. And again, the DeMarco Farr statement kind of real. I'm not accusing Ernest Jones of that, but the DeMarco Farr statement really kind of, man, that really surprised me. Usually you don't get quality stuff off sports talk radio these days. You get to hear about, on sports talk radio, you get to hear about movies and what the guys had and what girls they're hot for. You never hear sports, but DeMarco Farr brought it. It was pretty good. Bill, I don't like our starters at middle linebackers. Give one of the young guys a chance to start. We might not be too far from that. It just depends on where it's at and how they're rotated in. I don't think we're too far from that. I think they like I said, Troy Reeder is a warm fuzzy for the Rams at linebacker. John Johnson is a warm fuzzy. He makes the Rams feel comfortable in these places. It's like a security blanket, someone who really knows the team and the program and the plan. So Rams moved off Troy Reeder right after winning a Super Bowl. If you also remember, I'm going to save it for later in the show. Remember, they traded Kenny Floyd mid-season of 2021. Remember Kenny Young? They just moved right off and sent him to Denver. Before that, Micah Kaiser had been a starter. They moved off Micah Kaiser real fast too. If those guys are progressing, they're going to get on the field. I totally believe that, Bill. Tim Burns, what do you think of the new 12-team format and teams getting a bye? Talking about college football, I love it. I think it's too late. It's way too late to get to it. They should have done this years ago. I like it because it's in the team's hands. Some people are saying it's going to diminish the regular season. I don't know. Is the NFL season diminished? Now, I prefer 16 games to 17 games, but the NFL season's not diminished. And what do they have? 14 teams out of 32 make the playoffs. I think it's a good thing. And I would like to see these teams earn it a little bit and win a playoff game before you get to the final. Take it out of the writer's hand. Take it out of the pollster's hands. Settle it on the field. And I don't care if there's a blowout here or there, but get these teams in. What do they got? The top 5 power conferences? Steve Ramirez, you actually covered college football up close. Is it 5 Power 5 conferences? They get their top two teams in, and the other 2 are wild card teams. So it's different. You have your top 4 teams would go to the playoff, and the 5th or 6th team would get left out. Well, now it's 12 top teams, and maybe the 13th or 14th team gets left out. I'm good with that. That 13 or 14, likely you're not denying anybody a chance to win a national title. Tim Burns, Kyron returning punts, the injury-prone guy. McVay was excited about it, Tim, and Kyron was excited about it. If you saw his interview today, it's on YouTube. You can check it out. Yeah, he was really excited about it. Biozio, I was shocked about Kevin Carter. He seems so professional. After that 10-sack season that he had in 2000, he only had one more 10-sack season for the rest of his career. It wasn't a flop career. It wasn't a bad career. But I don't know. I think he did have a little problem with undermotivation. I think that he was probably one of those guys physically gifted. He could have been as great as anybody. But some of the stuff I heard that maybe he didn't exactly pour it all in. I'll take correction on that. But the DeMarco Farr statement did shock me. I mean, that's his partner. He lined up next to him for a whole couple seasons there. Bill, I would like to see the Rams sign another corner. Isn't that amazing? We're going to look at that cornerback room here in a second when we go through the roster. Is that cornerback room has Charles Woods and was it Josh Wallace there, and THT's gone for the season. He's gone for the season. He's out. And the Rams are running Tre'Davious White, Darius Williams, and Kobe Durant. I got to bet. I haven't seen Witherspoon signed. I got to see if the Rams go through have another significant injury in that cornerback room. Who's to say they wouldn't re-sign Witherspoon? I mean, he's just out there. No one has signed him. That really fascinates me. But 2 UDFAs making that means wow. Anyway, I'll break it down here on the roster in a second. Tim Burns, I told Steeler fan Rob, no way Fields beats out Russell. He should be happy. Fields, everything breaks down. Fields kind of exciting, right? But Fields, they've talked about this, right? He doesn't process real well. I didn't like Fields after I saw him in the Big Ten final against Northwestern his senior year. I thought, what is this guy struggling for? And he was missing receivers. He's just late. And, he has to speed up his clock a little bit. Bill, who is the Rams international practice squad player? It's the dude. He's a defensive lineman, David Alajigi, Gigi, whatever his name is. He's from London. He allows them to have 17 on the practice squad. Biozio, don't overlook Jake Hummel. I agree. Don't overlook Jake Hummel at all. Tim Burns, watch Hummel gets the nod. Yeah, McVay said it's going to be Reeder and Rosenboom to start, but I don't think Hummel's too far behind. Evan Hotz. Evan, thank you for dropping us a line the other day. I meant to get back to you. Thank you so much for clicking on. It's significant that Ernest Jones was in the last year of his contract. Quite often players have a very good year because they are motivated for the payoff of the new contract. I agree. The only thing that we're seeing more and more of, and I don't know, you wonder, is this agent driven or what? But what you're seeing is more and more is that the players don't want to play that last year anymore. They're just not willing to do it anymore. He said he was. And again, I think there's something between, again, what the rhetoric we're hearing and the truth that's going on behind closed doors. We're not getting the full story there. I think everyone's guarding each man's dignity and protecting each man's pride. And but yeah, I think after last year, all things being equal, I know I would have pulled the trigger on renewing Ernest Jones. I wouldn't need to see another year, but it's the position he plays. And again, the Rams figured they can do better. And again, that little bit of money makes a big deal because if Puka has another year, you're going to have to probably, depending on what Alaric Jackson does, he's going to be making more money next year, or you're going to be bringing in another left tackle. Just things to think about going forward. Also, Quentin Lake, who everyone loves, and I think we're really ready for a full breakout season this year. Quentin Lake next season will be in his last year under contract with the Rams. And if he's as good as we think we are, there's going to be the need for money. And the Rams are pretty good at handling that cap. Biozaya, gosh, who can't wait for the NFL to start? I'm a little nervous about it starting, to tell you the truth. I want to go a couple of weeks without preseason games because I'm kind of nervous about the game in Detroit. Tim Burns, with your answer, I would love to see the FCS be at large somehow in the FBS. Yeah, I when we were working at Mid-Valley Sports, Azusa Pacific University went D2. They jumped up from NAIA or Division III and went D2. And we used to, in our area that we covered football, basically from Burbank to Laverne, from Long Beach to Pasadena. We had 130 schools we covered, and most of the players we covered were D3. In fact, we used to ask the question, could this guy play D2 or D3? Well, when we got up close look at what a D2 looked like, we knew a lot of the players in our area weren't going to play D2. In fact, we did a study of all the D2 schools in America. They had 10,000 on their roster. There was 10,000 players on a D2 roster. And so what happened is that something like only 69 players from Southern California were playing D2. Now that's D2. We're not talking FCS. The drop-off is so huge. It's huge, and it's in the trenches, and it's the speed. And it would be a cool story. I have a hard time seeing it happen. I do. I hope I didn't go too long on that. Bill, I was surprised and happy that Xavier Smith made it to the practice squad. Same here, Bill. I thought the Rams cut him. I thought he was gone. They lost Zachary Thomas, but I fully expected Xavier Smith to be gone. The Rams got him back. That's good news. That's really good news. Tim Burns, love the Rams snapped the running back from the Niners. A revenge 2 years back. A revenge back 2 years times 2. Oh, a year. Yes, please. Okay. Yeah, maybe he'll spill his guts to the Rams a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if the Rams get some clicks out of Cody Schrader. Peo time, Canadian Rams fan. Hey, Joe and everyone. Hope you're all having a great night. Peo, thank you for joining us. Glad you're here from Canada. Righteous. Steve Ramirez. For college football, we'll probably get top 3 from the Big Ten, SEC, and maybe top 2 from the ACC, Big 12. The 12 must include 1 bid for the best group of 5 and 1 for Notre Dame if in the top 15, I think. Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, you got to figure the networks are going to demand Notre Dame gets in there. Please, let's make sure we get Notre Dame in there. Peo time, Canadian Rams fan. Question, what are your thoughts on Coach McVay compared to Rams coaching history? This is the golden era of Rams football. I love Chuck Knox. I grew up with Chuck Knox. Chuck Knox did not do what Sean McVay's done in the short period of time he's been the Rams head coach. George Allen. I love George Allen. George Allen changed culture. He got there in 66. They got a 500 record. I think they went 7-7, 8-6. And then next thing you know, they're competing in the National Football League before the merger for the playoffs. And man, a couple of breaks happened, and they might have been in one of those first 4 Super Bowls. It was a shame that those things happened, but Allen didn't get it done. John Robinson, I think we like John Robinson because he kind of steadied the ship after the Malavasi meltdown and everything happened in 82. But 2 conference finals, steady team, but you just knew every year. It's like looking back, especially now, we thought we were going to win a Super Bowl with, Dieter Brock. It's like, help me. Right. And then, yeah, so this is the golden era of Rams football. And it is Peo. Sean McVay is the best head coach in Ram history. I think so. Tim Burns, sup, Peo. Bill, what did you think about McVay's tone at the press conference when he was pressed about Ernest Jones? I think there is a little part of him. It's like, to me with McVay, sometimes like, guys, what have we given you doubts where you can't trust us, right? He did not look like he was at a funeral, though. Again, it's McVay, right? He didn't look like he was at a funeral. He didn't look like he was in lament. He looked like a guy that was genuinely excited about these players on the roster. And the flexibility you get with these young guys who are UDFAs. Now, They can run all over the field. They don't call them suicide squads anymore, but they can run them all over the field, put them on special teams. These guys are happy to make an NFL paycheck. They're undrafted, and you're going to get clicks out of those guys. And McVay loves to refresh the screen a little bit, right? They talked about him being burned out after 21, and then all the young guys coming in 23 kind of rejuvenated him. They said it feels like 2017 again. And so I think he's jazzed. I think he really is jazzed. Let's see. Peoteo, question. What is your first Ramsey memory in your life? Oh, mine was Bruce for TD game. First Rams, not Ramsey memory. I've shared it before. I picked up the Rams in 72, mostly on the radio, Dick Enberg. 73, picked up the Rams full season from preseason all the way through the playoffs that year. I've been a Ram fan ever since. But I can remember everything. I remember the Steve Priest fake field goal for a touchdown in 73, the Hadel touchdown pass to McCutcheon to beat the Chiefs in 73, those horrible losses to the Vikings and Cowboys. But the Rams beat the Cowboys October 14th, 1973. Harold Jackson caught 4 touchdowns. That's my crystallized moment there. And I didn't see it. Saw it on NFL Films, but I heard Dick Enberg call it. And if you never got to hear Dick Enberg call Ram games, you really missed out on something. It's like not hearing Chip Hearn call Laker games, or not hearing Vin Scully call Dodger games, or Bob Miller calling King games on the hockey front. But yeah, that's when I became that's my greatest memory. I was 1973. Let's see. Bill, I was amazed how upset some of the Rams podcasters were at the Jones trade. We must believe in Snead. Yeah, you think I'm not going to say I was happy, but when you start weighing things, you got to weigh things because Jones actually posts something that says I didn't ask for a trade, and then he takes it down. McVay says Jones didn't ask to be traded. There's something in the attitude, something in the interaction. And again, maybe this was agent driven, something in there. Because if I'm the Rams, it's like, I'm going to ride this puppy out. I don't got to pay him any more money right now. I could let him walk at the end of the year. Unless there was just this overwhelming feeling that, hey, if we keep Jones, we're going to have to put Spates or Neal or both or one of those guys into the street. And maybe they just didn't want to do that. But that's all I could think of. I will say this. I got to be real careful here. I will say this is that a lot of current media. I'm not going to label every Ram podcast. There's some really good Ram podcasters that are better than me. I don't want to name them because I don't want to lose you. But the KBM out there, the Kiss Butt media, they're very recent. They have no sense of journey. And I'm even saying going back to 2017, they have no sense of journey, no sense of history. And so I think they don't sense it all. They don't see it. They don't see the whole picture here. But this is the Rams, right? They just don't suffer these issues, and they're not going to let anything funk up their locker room, and they're moving on. So, yeah, it is funny how uptight everyone gets. You really should trust McSnead at this point. Tim Burns, doesn't Notre Dame have an NBC lifer contract? Yeah, I think they do. AMS, Bill, hello, Peo Time. Watch you cry when the Rams won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Okay. Appreciate your knowledge and perspective of Rams. Haha. You're right, Golden. Oh, you're talking to me, Peo. I thought you were talking to Bill. Peo Time. Okay, you guys talk to each other. Steve Ramirez, my top 4 Ram coaches, McVay, Knox, Allen, Robinson, Vermeil. Vermeil wasn't there long enough. He did get a Super Bowl, though. Whatever that 1999 thing was, it was a Super Bowl. Now, Vermeil did commit the egregious sin of handing the Lombardi trophy to she who must not be named, and he deserved, and he probably knew that, and that's why he resigned a couple days later. But Vermeil did get that Super Bowl. Let's see, Peo Time. Oops, Rams. Okay, you got that. Peo Time. Those are great memories. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome, sir. Tim Burns. Bottom line, we are worse without Jones. Period. Again, that would be my thought process too. But the Rams won a Super Bowl with a rookie Jones and Troy Reeder in 2021. It's just the position it doesn't demand a whole lot. Would we want Jones? Absolutely. But I'm wondering if the Rams were weighing, Jones has opened the door. We have a chance to move him. Let's move him. And then we can keep these other young kids that we're high on that we can get a lot of clicks out of. That's my thinking there, Mr. Burns. Payo time. I think for me with the Jones trade, I was more critical of the timing of the trade right before the season. But as more info has come out, I see why the trade went down. Payo time. Laugh out loud, she who must not be named. There we go. Absolutely. USA expat. Funny, the Jones trade did not bother me at all. I'd be curious to know your reasons. Your reasons there, USA expat, on why the Jones trade did not bother you at all. Tim Burns. There are other Rams podcasts. Oh, sticking a knife in me, Mr. Burns. Sticking a knife into me. Okay, let's move on here, guys. Please continue to toss and throw questions. I love talking to you. Rams update here. New England Patriots claim Zachary Thomas on waivers, so he's gone. Thomas had a really good summer for the Rams, good preseason. And my guess is with the tire fire that New England is, in a few weeks he should be starting for the Pats. So good for Zach Thomas. Happy for him. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overdoing the whole New England thing. But, man, I just thought they looked bad. And I thought they did a bad job hiring a coach. So the Rams have signed Cody Schrader, released by the 49ers. I mentioned Elijah Mitchell going down, and they still let him go. I did not think Zach Evans, this would give Zach Evans a shot to return, but the Rams did sign Zach Evans to the practice squad. And, of course, Schrader, why wouldn't the Rams sign Schrader, right? Why wouldn't they? He was productive in college, and he's 5'8", 214. 5'8", 214. It's like the NFL version of the Dwarfs, right? It's like the Shire in that Rams running back room. No one over 5'10". If you're over 5'10", you can't play for the Rams, right? Look at the sizes of Ronnie Rivers, Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, and now the 5'8" Corey Schrader. Very, very interesting. The Rams signed defensive lineman Neville Gallimore. He was a third-round pick of the Cowboys in 2020, and he was released by the Dolphins, and the Rams have signed him, and they put Corey Durden in the street. And so there you go. He's 6'2", 315. So he gives the Rams some oomph there in the center of in the middle of the line. And which, good thing, you're losing Ernest Jones. Also, with the signing of Schrader, the Rams put Connor McDermott, the tackle, who I thought the Rams were just kind of keeping around because of Alaric Jackson being out and then Havenstein being questionable for the opener. But they put McDermott on the injury list and to make room for Schrader. And then, of course, Gallimore, Durden was cut. So here's the Rams roster right now, not mentioning IR and injured list or PUP list. Stafford and Bennett. The Bennett conversation have gloriously died down. Right now in the running back room, it's Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader. It's the Shire. In the wide receiver room, the Rams kept 6. You got Cooper, you got Kupp, Nakua, you got Robinson, you got Atwell, Whittington, and Tyler Johnson. At the tight end spot, you got Davis, Colby Parkinson, and Davis Allen, Colby Parkinson, and Hunter Long. The offensive line right now, there are 8 players for this offensive line, and there was talk about the Rams going as high as 9 or 10. But you got Avila with backed up by Bo Limmer. You got Jonah Jackson, who's ready to go, Kevin Dotson and Logan Bruss, who made the team. And then you got Rob Havenstein, Joe Noteboom, and Warren McClendon, who had a really good summer. And of course, Alaric Jackson right now is suspended. Interior of the defense, you got Braden Fisk, Tyler Davis, Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown, DeJuan Johnson, and Neville Gallimore. Gallimore at 315, Bobby Brown well over 3 spins, and Tyler Davis well over 3 spins. That gives the Rams some rotation beef there in the center of that line to let maybe Kobe Turner take off, have some pressure come off him, and then Braden Fisk. Cornerback room, I understand. I think it's Bill, a little bit of concern. You got Darius Williams, Tre'Davious White, Kobe Durant. And then you got Josh Wallace and Charles Woods as your backup guys. That's five guys in that room. Interesting enough, Darius Williams was an undrafted free agent as well. Josh Wallace and Charles Woods are undrafted free agents. Kobe Durant is a 4th-round pick. Tre'Davious White was a 1st-round pick of the Bills who played like one until injuries set in. I mentioned the linebacker room. All 5 of these guys are like the outsiders, right? This is like Soda Pop, Derry, Pony Boy, Johnny, and these guys. You got Christian Roseboom, Jake Hummel, Troy Reeder, Omar Spates, and Elias Neal. At safety, you got John Johnson III, Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, Russ Yeast, Cam Kitchens, Jalen McCullough. And Russ Yeast, he outlasted Jason Taylor, who got cut and picked up to the practice squad. But there's depth there, and that's nice. That's really a good safety room. At edge, you got Verse, Byron Young, Michael Hoyt, Brennan Jackson, and Nick Hampton. And the Rams must have been on high on Brennan Jackson from the get-go. He didn't play all summer, gets a few snaps against Houston, and he's one of the few guys that played against Houston in the 3rd preseason game that's still on this roster. And then, of course, you got Josh Carty, Ethan Evans, and Alex Ward. Currently on the suspended list, IR or PUP list, you got Jimmy Garoppolo, Alaric Jackson, Tyler Higbee, KT Levinston, Laurel Murchison, Trey Tomlinson, Darian Kendrick, and Connor McDermott. Tomlinson and Kendrick are gone for the year. Garoppolo is a 2-game suspension, same with Jackson, so there'll be other roster moves going into week 3 to bring those guys back. Higbee's on the PUP list, so he might not come back for a while. Levinston and Murchison and McDermott are all on the injured list designated for return. I think that's after 4 weeks. Looking at the Rams roster right now, 13 of their players on this roster are undrafted free agents, 14 if you count Alaric Jackson. 8 of them are 6th-round picks, 11 if you were to count Tomlinson, McDermott, and Kendrick, even though those guys are gone right now. That's 24. That's almost half your roster is made up of undrafted free agents and 6th-round picks. Oh, and there's 5 7th-round picks if you count Levinston. So that's what 25, 30 players there that are either undrafted free agents or taken on the final day of the draft in the 6th round. I mean, that is just and beyond. That's just amazing what the Rams have done there. Just great to the scouting department. I know people were worried about the scouting department and everything after Brad Holmes left, but the Rams seem to have done a good job in maintaining these guys. Practice squad signees: Drake Stoops, Xavier Smith, and Sam Wiglusz. J.J. Lapp did not make the cut, come back to the practice squad. Zach Evans did get signed to the practice squad. I'm glad to see that. I like to see the Rams keep him around. Mike McAllister, A.J. Akuri, and Justin Didich, the USC guy, are all on the practice squad. Nikola Kalinick and Miller Forrestall, both on the practice squad. Good for them. Tanner Engel, Sean Jolly, Cam Lampkin, and Jason Taylor are on the practice squad. Tuli Gasanoa, the Washington DT, along with David Olajiga, the Euro player. They are on the practice squad, as is Kier Thomas. Kier Thomas is still hanging around. And then Zach Von Valkenburg, he was brought back. And I think Van Valkenburg, somebody goes down, he gets the call. Rams appear to be out of the Oshwan Mathis business. Let's keep running along here. See what you guys got for USA Expat. Part of me says Jones was a little overrated, being blessed to be able to always play behind 99. Everyone's going to have that advantage. I get that. I've heard people say that about Ray Lewis early on when Siragusa was playing in front of him, and that freed him up. And why there was that little bit of dip for a while until they got things straightened out there in Baltimore, because there were about 10 years or 11 years between titles. But I thought Jones played well. I loved seeing him rush the quarterback. I just thought his game grew. There is a bummer, but what did Max Mercy say to?
They come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go.
Yeah, that's what Max Mercy said to Roy Hobbs. They come and they go, right? They come and they go, and it's a bummer how they keep moving on. Peo, do you think Stafford could win an MVP award this year? I think he could win an MVP award. Absolutely. I don't care. Lamar Jackson has 2 MVP awards and 1 playoff win. They can keep the MVP. I don't spend much time talking about it. Players get worked up, or sports media gets worked up. I think there's so much to talk about, and they talk about MVP awards. He definitely could win it. I think definitely someone like him could win it, should win it, and he won't because he's Matthew Stafford. You still have KBM putting him behind Lamar Jackson, putting him behind Kirk Cousins, putting him behind Tua, putting him behind Dak Prescott, putting him behind, after one season, Jordan Love. And they rate Matthew. They have no respect for Matthew Stafford. I do think it was kind of funny that the players in their poll said he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks along with Brock Purdy. But he could, absolutely. I just want to see him stay healthy, right? I just want to see him stay healthy. Please let him stay healthy. Bill, the Rams are dangerously low on the offensive line. 8 players right now. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to play out. Because you usually have that 9th or maybe even 10th guy. And so you got to wonder, is like maybe A.J. Curry could get a call up or something to think about there. But yeah, that's a little thin, just a little bit thin there. And that's 8 if Havenstein plays. If Havenstein doesn't play, you're down to 7. And so I would expect more action there on that front. That's a good call, Bill. Ramley Sports. Thank you. Great show, Joe. Thank you for clicking on, man. I put my email in there. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you guys could check me out. Bill, they're a free agent tackle from the Packers who's available. I forget his name. Maybe you know his name. Bakhtiari. Would you bring Bakhtiari in for a cup of coffee? That would be interesting. USA expat. All of these young players is exciting storyline for me entering this season. I just think it's exciting the way you're right. I think the way the Rams do business is super exciting, right? Super exciting. Did you see when I went through that roster there? Something like if you're counting the injured list and you're counting suspended players, something like 30 of their players on their 53, or what would that be? 59 counting the injuries and suspensions. That something like half their squad is 6th round, 7th round, and UDFA. Man, that just blows me away. Just blows me away with what they do. Tommy Huxley, top heavy lambs. I'll take explanation on that. Hit the likes, Tommy Huxley. Oh, thank you, Jimmy Everett. Yeah, hit those likes. Rams. Hello, Rudy from RamView Sports Report. Okay, Payo Time. Good perspective on the MVP for sure. Thank you, Payo Time. Hey, Rudy and Tom. I'm so glad I can provide you guys time to get together. You guys all seem to know each other. I have to go to. I have a great stream. Thank you, Payo Time. Jim Everett, laugh out loud. USA expat. Stafford's salt and pepper beard helps him to be underrated. Laugh out loud. Chandler Hutchinson, thoughts on the team's new defensive coordinator. When they said Chris Shula was going to be the DC, how do I say this? It surprised me a little bit because it wasn't sexy, it wasn't exciting. But then when you found out the dude had been here since 2017 and had been in the DB room, the linebacker room, he'd been all over the place. And then of course he's a Shula. And you see him, he looks like he's been doing this job for a long time. And I'm not going to lie, I created hashtag Fire Raheem. I was the first part of 2021. The Rams were playing so soft in coverage. I was dying. And then they, of course, tightened things up and won the Super Bowl. And then in 2022, they just had everyone playing off the ball. I was so frustrated with Raheem Morris. And last year, they flipped the switch and they played a lot more press. And I go, yeah. And then you talk about the character of Raheem Morris. Totally get it, and stuff. And so yeah, I think Chris Shula is going to do a good job. Again, you got to trust the process. Look at McVay's coaching tree and the success of his coaching tree. People are dying to get on his staff, and whatever he does, he coaches them up, mentors them up, gets them ready. And I believe he's ready. I believe Chris Shula is ready. Now we got to get Aubrey Pleasant a head coaching job so the Rams can get 2 comp picks. That would be great. Let's see. Tim Burns. Is Georgia Frontiera considered a widow if she drove away? You're a dog, Tim. Yeah. I guess she is. That's funny. Yeah, that was suspicious, huh? They said what Rosenblum was known to change his will all the time, and right when Steve was left out, suddenly it happens. Yeah, I'll always be suspicious of that. Of course, I'm suspicious by nature. Hey, guys, let me run through this real quick here because we did do the work, and I know we're at the 49-minute mark. But let's look at the state Rams history. August 28th, 1961. The Rams send all-pro wide receiver Del Schaffner. Del Schaffner was a great receiver and a first-round pick in 1962 to the Giants for the Giants' first-round pick in 62, which is second overall. And with that second overall pick, the Rams took a quarterback named Roman Gabriel. And the Rams believed so much in Roman Gabriel, they drafted Terry Baker out of Oregon State in the first round in 63. And they thought so much of Gabriel and Terry Baker that the Rams drafted Bill Munson in 64 out of Utah State. And it wasn't until George Allen got there that he says, this is preposterous. And Roman Gabriel became his full-time starting quarterback. 1962, on this date, on August 28th, the Rams waived kicker Jim Bakken. He was drafted 7th round, 88th overall, out of Wisconsin. He went on to kick 17 seasons for the St. Louis Cardinals, 4-time Pro Bowler, all-decade team in both the 60s and 70s. Remember Jim Bakken, straight-ahead kicker? The Rams had him, and they let him go. By the way, that 1962 draft for the Rams, Roman Gabriel, Merlin Olsen, Jim Bakken, but their 16th pick overall in the second round was a guy named Joe Corolla, who started 8 seasons in the league and several seasons for the Rams at guard. He was the running mate there along with Schiavelli and Cowan and Iman. And then when Matt came in, and then the Rams kind of moved off of Corolla. I think he was in one of the trades that brought Roger Brown to the Rams, and he went to Philly. I got to double check that. Rams, 1967 on this date, they send a defensive back named George Youngblood, no relation to Jim or Jack. He went to Cal State LA. They sent him to the Cleveland Browns for a 3rd-round pick in 68. They later packaged that 3rd-round pick with a 1st-round pick in 68 and a 2nd-round pick in 69 to the Detroit Lions for Roger Brown, because Roger Brown replaced the injured Rosie Greer. And so that 3rd-round pick in 68 turned out to be Hall of Fame tight end Charlie Sanders. Thought that was kind of interesting. On this date, 1973, the Rams sent a 5th-round pick in 1974 to the Vikings for veteran Charlie Stukes, who had a whole career with the Colts, went to the Vikings in the offseason, and he had a really good 8-year career, 32 picks, and he never played it down for the Vikings. He got traded to the Rams on this date in 73, and he had 2 solid seasons for the Rams. Blew out his knee in 1975, a week before the season started, and was waived in camp, early in camp in 76. He started 28 games for the Rams, had 12 picks. Charlie Stukes, 6'3", 212, classic, big cornerback for the Rams. One of my favorites, number 47. On this day in 1974, the Rams traded Harry Shue to the Packers for a 6th-round pick. On this day in 1994, the Rams released Cleveland Gary and Mark Boutte. They released Tommy Maddox. And in 1999, the magic began in the weirdest and most awful of way. Rodney Harrison took out Trent Green's knee on this date in 1999, and Kurt Warner was born. On this day a year ago, the Rams put Lance McCutcheon in the street, but also they put Jordan Jones, Taron Vincent, Kelechi Adabuchi, Braxton Burmeister, Tamarcus Davis, Tyon Davis, Vincent Gray, Tyler Hudson, Sean McGinn, Cameron McDonald, Christian Sims, and Ryan Smenda Jr. They also put Tanner Engel in the street in these final cuts. Tanner Engel is on the Rams practice squad this year. Since we're not on the air tomorrow, let's get this one in. 1973, Marlon McKeever retires. 1986, on August 29th, which is tomorrow, Rams waived Gary Green and Eric Harris, the 2 former Chiefs defensive backs who played well for the Rams. 1988, Rams waived Steve Dills and Ross Browner, former Notre Dame standout. He had good years with the Bengals, and his career was over. And then in 2017, the Rams signed on August 29th, which is tomorrow, the Rams signed Eric Dickerson to a 1-day contract so he could retire as a Ram. And in 2023, a year ago, tomorrow, the Rams cut Logan Bruss and Robert Rochelle. And Rochelle went his way, and he's with the Packers now. And Logan Bruss worked his way back onto this roster, so good for Logan Bruss. All right, I think we got most of that out of there. Let me take the last couple of questions. USA Expat at Tim. I'm still laughing. Okay. Chandler Hutchinson. Do you think Aaron Donald will come back when we make the playoffs? Emphasis on win. I would hope he would come back before that. There's just a lot of buzz out there, right? So would any of you be surprised if he comes back? I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think any of us are going to be surprised if he comes back. I would just like to see him come back maybe beginning of December. Let him have Thanksgiving with his family, and then, just fly out here or just pick up a uniform, play the last month of the season, and let's see what we get at. Because, you still got to get in game shape, right? I know he's Aaron Donald, where someone might need 4 weeks. He probably only needs 2. But I think we'll take him any place we could take him. But I could see something like that happening. I don't think it's going to be far-fetched. Yeah, let's do it. Make a deal with him. Here's what I would say to Aaron Donald. I say, Aaron, if you come back, we're going to work a couple plays with you playing fullback. Since you've already retired, you're at the end of your career anyway. How about we give you the ball down at the 2-yard line, let you bowl somebody over, and let's get you a touchdown on offense. Maybe Aaron says, oh, I'll dance with that, right? Show him some offensive love, right? And how awesome would that be? So, yeah, I definitely think Rams are going to the playoffs. We've talked about it. I'm going to close this thing in 30 seconds, guys. But thank you so much for all of you for watching. But Rams are going to make the playoffs. Even with Ernest Jones gone, I think the high end for this team is 13 wins. I think low end is 11 wins. Now, that's barring any epic collapse that like the 2022 season was, where it was just injuries galore. As it stands now, that's what I think the Rams can do. I think the 49ers are cruising for a bruising. And giving all that money to Fred Warner, and they got to deal with Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams. I think they'll find a way. I think those guys will be on the field, but it's just a bad start to their season. They lost Elijah Mitchell. They've lost some guys on their D-line. Dre Greenlaw is struggling. He's on the PUP list, I think. I don't think he's back yet. So, yeah, they're going to have some struggles. A lot of teams are high. A lot of people are high on the Seahawks. I'm not high on the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be a better team in 2025 and dangerous, right? Let's see. Steve Ramirez, Nick Wright picked the Rams to win the division. Yeah, yeah, good call. He was probably watching us, Steve. Probably heard us talking and said, "Oh, the real Ram insiders know the Rams are going to win the division." There you go. Okay, guys, thank you so much for making this a great show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you have not liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe so my sponsors can see it and say, "Hey, man, Joe, that guy, right? That guy, that's the guy going somewhere." And check out my books on Amazon. They are available on Amazon. My best-selling one is Tangent Dreams. It's a high school football novel. Check it out. Got good reviews. It helps keep us going along from there. Some of you have purchased, and I do thank you very much. But please like and subscribe. And God bless. Take care. And we will be back on Friday. Go Rams.